Hello, everybody, and welcome to ACM Teams Europe, the February meet. Nice to see you, everybody here. Okay, I can't see you, but I can feel you. Okay, so let's have a look at today's topic. And today we will be talking about champions. So we have a super exciting agenda for today. First, our own Alex, he will talk about different roles of the champions. So very, very interesting. And then we have invited a couple of fantastic guest stars to join our super interesting panel about champion stories from real life. What kind of challenges champions may face and how to overcome these. So we will see Marin, Christina, and Merete in a few minutes or so, and Michael will be the moderator for that. So super exciting agenda, and as always, be sure to comment on YouTube and comment on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We are out there seeing everything, make it super fun. We will also try to write comments. We have a bunch of us ready just to join in conversations, and if you have any questions or anything, just type it there. You already seen us, but here we are one more time. Hi, everybody. And I think that's it. So let's get into our first session. Alex, the floor is yours. Different roles of
Yeah, so hopefully this works. Hi there, my name is Alex Eggers, and as you can see here, we have now a small introduction in the roles of the team's champions. And I want to have this overview for you. We're talking about team champions, multiplayer superpower, and champion workshops. So how can you introduce champions in this part? And I want to talk a little bit about internal marketing. Okay, so let's start with the champions team. And what I think what's very important is that you need to talk about the sense and the purpose of this team. I think we should talk about this part that the champions support the adoption consultants. They are remote hands in the company, and they also have to network together in the company. What we need to say is that we are it is very important to have these people in the company who wants to adopt maybe Microsoft Teams, as in our case, and they help us consultants in this long journey. So because they are more integrated in the company, they have a better view on what people are committing on Microsoft Teams and maybe which people are not committing to Microsoft Teams. So we have more chance to do our change management techniques here and to see who will help us in this part. Well, what I think is when we have very small companies, these champions are also a small part of group, and they can help to support also the support team for any questions from the customers or from the colleagues in this part. When we have a bigger group of employees in this company, I think it's also a good part where they can help the consultants in supporting training and also in adopting in the adoption team. Train the adoption team and the people. So this is our two parts, support on the one side and train the people on the other side. But therefore I have one more slide. We have the question, why should I be a champion? And what I think is the three parts we have shown here: appreciation of my knowledge. There's always people that are very interested in Microsoft Teams, and they want to use it because they really fast understand what is the the good thing when you adopt Teams in the company. What helps? How does it help you in your daily work? And so we want to get them in this team because they are the people who help us in influencing the other colleagues. They have the advantage to be in the beginning in this workshop or in this transformation. So they will have their opinions also introduced in this journey, and they can also participate much more when they're integrated. So what I think is really important, maybe for the consultants or also for the champions, build your own Microsoft Teams team that helps you to interact together. Of course, when you talk about introducing teams, it must be also a small team for the champions itself, where you can communicate, also where you can communicate with a consultant. What is the kind of people we need in the champions team? Well, what I earlier said is this group of early adopters that see very fast the opportunities for Microsoft Teams, and so we want to get them in this team. They should, of course, be a little bit tech-affine, but it's no need to be from the IT department. Maybe it's also better not to be from the IT department. Well, of course, teams thrilled, and they need various skills. We will talk about on the next slide on this. Informal leader is one big part, what I think is a good thing, because as I said before, they can influence all the other colleagues in the company. When they are informal leader, they will hear on them. Maybe there are some people who don't know is Teams a good thing or not. And when this informal leader is part of the champions team and holds up the flag for Microsoft Teams, maybe it's easier to convince them to have a look at Microsoft Teams. And what I always tell the people or my customer is that the champions need around 2 hours per week for this adoption phase, where they help the consultants to introduce Teams. Well, this depends on their work, of course, but just to have this knowledge that people that are coming to this project need some time in the week to do their job. So the main slide, what I want to show you is this one. These are some roles of champions that I always try to implement in the champions team or in the company. And we can talk about each point here. First of all, the one tool hero. What I mean here is this is one person who is really, really good in just one tool. And maybe in this case, of course, Microsoft Teams. He knows, or she knows everything all around Microsoft Teams, all features. So is a very good partner in answering questions from the customer, from the colleagues. What we also need, of course, is someone like an all-rounder. So this is one person who has maybe more information about all products like OneNote and Planner, but not in the depth like the one tool hero. So this is a person who can answer all the questions around this extra programs we have in Microsoft Teams and around Microsoft Teams, of course. So he has a better overview on all programs we have here. This is the all-rounder. Third one, and maybe also the fourth, are speaker and coach. So when we have a larger company, it's not possible to do all the trainings from one person, like the consultants. So it's very important that we have in the champions team somebody who is possible to stand in front of the people, or of course right now not, more stand in front of the camera, and to do the training for the colleagues. This is also not for everybody. Not everybody is used to train other people. So this is also a special characterization we need for the champions team, someone who can do the trainings. And the coach is someone, maybe it's the same person, but maybe it's also a different person, because he is more individually helping the people to adopt Teams, or to help them how to use it, maybe in a one-on-one section. When we have a look at the smaller circle and down there, we have the community king. What I think is really important, that we have space where the colleagues can answer questions. Maybe they start using it after a training and they need help. And so it's very important to give them a space. And of course, that should be something like a Teams team. Maybe it's a Teams SOS team, what we always use. And in this Teams SOS team, they can ask questions. How do we do a live event, or whatever? And what is really nice to have somebody, or we really need somebody, to have a look at these questions. The worst, what could happen is that somebody of the colleagues is asking questions there and no one is answering. So this should not happen. So we need somebody who helps us here and answers the questions from the people, or finds somebody who can answer these questions. We have the use case guardian. This is a person who has a look at all the use cases, or how the departments use Microsoft Teams. We all know that it is very important to find use cases for the colleagues, because it's much easier for them to understand how to use this solution, or this Microsoft Teams solution, when we have a real use case. So the use case guardian has the opportunity to go to the departments, go to the people, and just have a look how they use Microsoft Teams and write it down. And maybe it's possible for him to build a story around this, how Teams helped one department to do a better job, or to do it faster, or whatever. So this is the use case guardian. It's maybe a job more later, when Teams is already introduced. So what we also have is the workshop manager. I think this is a wrong translation. So it's something what we use here, or what I really love to do, is when we do workshops for people who are interested in to do more. Maybe after introducing Teams, like some trainings, they're asking for help on Planner, OneNote, maybe also to how to use a Surface Hub when they bought some Surface Hubs, or meeting room system. All these technique stuff will be bored, and the problem now is that people also need training on how to use this technical things, or maybe other parts of Office 365. So we're doing extra workshops, and this is great when somebody of the champions attend here. Maybe the all-rounder gives an overview for the colleagues in special workshops, that where the people are just coming on their own. So it's no need to come there. It's just an offer for them to come to this workshop and learn more about the basics around Microsoft 365. And this is really nice, these workshops, because they are mainly coming people who want to know more. So it's much easier with them to work together. Okay, then we have two very important parts. What we always use when we introduce Teams is the post writer and the video master. So they work together with the use case guardian. It's all around introducing new features maybe in Microsoft Teams. So the video master is doing a small video screen share on a new feature, and he publishes this small video, 1 minute or 2, in the Teams SOS channel for the colleagues. It's more personal. When you find videos on the net, you can also use them, but it's much better when we have your own people in your own company that are doing these videos. They must not be very professional. That's not the point. It's just to show them it's from your own company what's coming here. And also the post writer, it's mainly the same, just he's writing posts instead of doing videos. And what I think is the post writer and the video master are very, very important to put content in Microsoft Teams, so the people who are interested in always get some nuggets, what they can learn and what they can do better to hold them in this adoption process. And get them the ability to do more and more. So this is an overview of the champions' roles, what we use when we introduce teams in the company. Of course, it depends on how big this company is, how many colleagues they have, and so you cannot do everything. But the bigger the company is, the more of these people you need. So once more, let's have a look at Champions Workshop. And we also do, of course, an introducing workshop when you find the people who want to help you here and to go in this project, in this adoption project. You also have to do some trainings on them. What we do in these trainings, we also try to find company-wide Microsoft teams. These company-wide teams, as you may know, there can be up to 5 company-wide teams. All the people that are in the Active Directory will be directly transferred in this team. So there's no need to have a look or have an eye on this, that also the new people are in the team. They are automatically put in this team. So we talk about these company-wide teams because I think this is very important to have this at the beginning, where what information should be in there. Is it possible for the company? Of course, when it's a bigger company, maybe you better use SharePoint for this, whatever. But this is one part, what we do in the company workshop. And of course, we do our adoption plan. So what do we do? And of course, one important point is also at this part here, observe technology. So what I always find is that many people or many organizations don't think about that they need good headsets, video cameras, and so on. It's not very nice sometimes. So mainly in this workshop, we have an eye on the technological status. And this is just one mind map, what we've done about ideas, what could be use cases in Microsoft Teams to be prepared. These company-wide teams, as I said before, we try to identify them in our champions workshop because the champions are very good connected, of course, so they have more ideas what could be something like this company-wide team. Okay, so at the end, what we also have is a weekly or bi-weekly champions call with the adoption specialist, with the consultant, all around news and updates. I will present there because it's very important to have the champions at a high level of knowledge. And so we are doing this champions call. The community dates and events we also share, like today, this event I will present there, or any other events, because it's also a good possibility for the customers and for the champions to learn more on other events. And what we also have is, of course, a planner to do with all our tasks for this introduction of Teams. I think this should be one of the last. Okay, internal marketing. Just have a look at the watch. Okay, it's no problem. Internal marketing, it's just what I want to talk to you. Maybe it's interesting. What we also do is do a little bit happening around the champions. As you can see here, we get special T-shirts that they can wear in events or maybe now on video conferences where we do the trainings. This is also a positive aspect in introducing, and the colleagues can then faster see who are the champions, who can I talk to, because also in bigger firms, not everybody knows everybody. So this is a very nice thing to see who is a champion in this, maybe in this workshop. And of course, depends on your culture in your company. I think it's always nice to have some specs stuff around Microsoft Teams that you can use. Maybe for not everybody knows this, there's also an official swag store from Microsoft in the US. You can send them in UPS, what is it? Something like UPS package or paper where they can send on your cost this stuff to you, also to Europe. On the other hand, you cannot sell there. Okay, just have a look at swagsite mybrightsides.com if you're interested in. And yeah, I think this is what I wanted to tell you about the champions, and the main slide you have seen, the champion roles. What can the champions do in the adaption team, and what are their roles, what they should do? Okay, so I will switch back and leave the studio. So wait a second. I will get all the others back on stage.
Great. Thank you, Alex. That was a really nice overview over what are the champions, what are they doing, why are they important, and what kind of roles do they have, and how important they are, or maybe even crucial they are in an adoption process around Teams. And boy, I do have questions actually, and the good thing we invited some experts around this topic tonight. I would like you to start to introduce yourself real quick and maybe give us some ideas what you do on a regular basis, and how do you end up here on this stage? Like, where is your expertise and champions coming from? And Christina sitting next to me, would you like to start?
Yes, sure, I will. Hi, I'm Christina, and I'm based in Berlin, in Germany, and I have been working for a consultancy, doing some Microsoft stuff with customers and especially end users for 9.5 years now. So I think that's a proven track record to think about how to help people adopt to Microsoft 365 and stuff.
Thank you very much. Meritha, how about you?
Hello, hi. I'm Merete. SharePoint Stava is how I sometimes introduce myself. So I started with the SharePoint 2007 version in around 2009. So I guess same as Christina, more or less. And it, of course, developed into Office 365 and, of course, the whole Microsoft 365 sphere. So I know a little bit about everything in there. But basically, what I've been working on is mainly building the bridge between the technology and what's out of the box, and to help customers get value out of their solution. And I work very closely with champions and train them. And so, yes, this is really something I'm passionate about. Yeah.
That's great. So I see you're the all-rounder, so to say. Yeah, a little, you know, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, the potato.
That's great. And finally, Marian, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Marian Somers. I've been doing SharePoint for over 14 years now, so really long time. And in projects, I'm always the bridge between the business side and the IT side. So I've been doing a number of champion tracks with organizations, small, big, government, and that's always super important in delivering user adoption into a project. To have everyone get on the track, using champions is just necessity.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. And yes, as I said earlier, I do have some questions. We don't have any like special order where we have the questions. So I would like to start with a question that I currently have at the moment that is really, really on my mind for a long time, because I'm working with a customer right now and we are introducing a champions program. So, but let's assume I have no idea about this, what I'm doing. That's like the typical consultant. So what I get get asked a lot is actually, how do you make sure that champions don't feel this is just extra work on top? And how do you draw the line between, like, I'm a champions user and not a first level IT support? That is something I think that is kind of difficult for most people. So I guess you have a little bit of experience around that. And I would just ask you who would like to start, and if you could just like raise your hand or just jump in, do whatever. We don't have a formal process here. Yeah, Mariam, please.
Sure. So great questions. Definitely great questions. So how do we make sure that champions feel like this is not an extra thing that they need to do? And we already saw that a little bit in the chat as well. I've been following the chat a little bit around, okay, how do you keep them engaged and stuff like that. So definitely give them a mandate, maybe from C-level, from senior management. Do a good communication with them, have conversations, make them feel included into the project, feed them with news so that they can be the important person to tell it to their colleagues as well. Swag helps as well. Not everybody likes stickers on their laptop, but t-shirts or flags or whatever always works very well. And then the other question, how to draw the line between a champion and a first level IT support person. I think for me, I don't really draw that line, because if you're working in a small office, if you're in a multinational organization, you're working in a small office, you probably already have your go-to people that you want to ask a question, instead of sending it into the help desk ticketing system where it takes 5 days for somebody to react. So you probably have already those go-to people that you want to ask that to. So if you make sure that everybody knows who the champion is in your local department or local office, you can also go to that person and ask questions there. So that will also help that person feel included and feel important and feel happy to do those things, because they can help their direct peers.
Thanks. Christina, please. You raised your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to add something. So a very great answer. First of all, I want to add something. It always depends, like the consultancy answer is as usual. Of course, you may have some processes and people in place. Sure, you have to work with them. You can't just put something into an organization that just won't work for that special kind of organization. But what I see with those people who are the go-to guys and girls is they have a lot on their plate already. So you really have to watch out for them, because some of them seem to do the 200% thing, like, okay, I'm going to do my job, and then I do this one, and then I do this one, and oh, Mrs. Miller has asked me something already. So we have to help them to shape the role that it fits into their daily business, and we have to talk to the managers, of course. So maybe this is something you were talking about with CEO level adjustments, maybe for the role. Because you have a what's in it for me for the manager as well, because if their people are part of the change, they can put their wishes into there first. And usually this is something that goes well with those people.
Thanks. Marito, do you want to add something?
Oh, yes, of course. Here we go. Great points from both Marijn and Christina, and I agree in much of what you say. Another thing what I've seen is many times when you talk about champion is perhaps the IT department or a part of the business who have decided we need to do this. But the rest of the organization and higher level up, as Christina mentioned, the management maybe don't know or are not prepared for this and what's in it for them. So what is really important is actually to connect what the champions are doing to the strategy and visions the company has. Am I selling fish? Am I building tunnels? Am I making clothes? What is my business? If I make clothes, I want to sell clothes. So I need to go to the C level, as Christina said, and also Marijn, to describe what's in it for me, what's happening, how is this supporting you selling more clothes. And to do that, you need the champions. But as you mentioned, and what has been typically done, it comes on top of the 200% or at least part of it. And we all know it can work for a period, but not forever. Then they either becomes MVPs or they start somewhere else. But the thing is, you need to define the role. You need to connect it to, for instance, who are responsible in the company for digital competency. Perhaps it's HR, perhaps it's some part of the business. So then you have to measure what actually these champions are doing. So you have to connect it to the visions and the strategy. You have to connect it to the digital competency journey every resource in actually the company has to do. And based on that, how can you measure the champions? And then you can say, okay, 10% of your champions times should be used on the champions' work as a minimum. And then it has to be measured. And it has to be a written, we have experienced is that to have a written contract with their respective managers. If I want to be a champion, I can join the champions teams, I can connect with other champions, but before I do that, I get a written contract with my manager and say, yes, Merete, you can use 10% of your time to do this job. And then, of course, you will be sought after in the company, and in the end, you use perhaps 80, 90, 200%. But yes, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for all those insights. I think that's really important to get the management on board and to get actually everybody on board. And I really like the idea with a written contract. I've never seen that before, but
it works.
It works.
Especially, actually, even go backwards in the old days and print it out and make them sign it by hand. Because sometimes you reply on emails, okay, yes, of course you can do it. But if you actually have it in front of your face and read it, then you think about it, you reflect about it, and then yes, okay, you can do it. Sometimes you actually have to do that, but you have to tell the managers, okay, what's in it for me, and then you have to, of course, this is not one thing happening. It's an ongoing journey. So these champions, I mean, the native champions, so to speak, the first group of superheroes, they need to be nurtured. You need to give the flowers water. You need to nurture your champions, and they will actually help you create more business. But you have to do it. You have to plan for that full journey, and you have to work together with HR, with communication. So it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, Marian said that earlier. Swag helps. Usually, that's my experience as well. I love swag, actually. And of course, I just checked out the Microsoft Swag site. I didn't know that, but I do now. Oh, I will use it so much. And somebody in the comments said it earlier, that maybe give them even hardware, like a good headset or something like that. Especially during those times right now, it's super important that you can do something like of quality. And so, but that is the idea. If you have to give something to get something, right? Like from management, you have to invest something in your champions role, and then they can help you do more business or better business. What do you say? Alex mentioned something like 2 hours per week. Do you think that's a measurement that could fit? Sorry, this question wasn't planned. I know.
Go ahead, Marian.
Well, it depends, of course. It depends on how many, how large your organization is, how many of those champions that you have, and what kind of things that you request from your champions. If they only should spread the word and evangelize, then 2 hours might be too much. But if they also need to work as that first level IT person, then that might be different. If you have, I've got one customer in the Netherlands where I'm by far the youngest person in the organization, and they're all super smart people, but they just can't work with computers. Now, I've also got another customer, all kinds of people there, and everybody's super used to working online. And Teams was just, there was no adoption track. Everybody was just used to working with it. So that, of course, also, that's something that you need to take into account if you're looking at that as well. Like, how digital literate are your people?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I agree very much with what Marijn says there, and also we also need to think that there are different levels of champions, because you have like the let's call it veterans, those who actually are the ones that will be sent out to a department or to an expertise group or a project to help them structure their way of working or do a mini adoption run. So they will be the experienced one, and then you have those who are new, who, like Marijn said, are evangelists and just bring out the information. So there are different levels. So there isn't one answer. So, but of course, many customers are probably asking us that, okay, how much in manpower is this going to cost me? But then turn it around. Okay, this is going to, you're going to win on that. Yes, Christina.
Yeah, thank you both. And I wouldn't let anyone out just because of it's just 1 hour a week. So if somebody is happy to volunteer, to contribute, so let's do this together and use whatever's there. So please don't keep people back from everything just because it's just an hour or half an hour. They want to share what they can. So let them do this.
Now, I also have got a question for you. Do we still need champions now that we've got Teams, where we can now use Teams as an onboarding platform, which is also the title of a session that I do with Corinna Lins every once in a while. But now that we have Teams as a platform that we can use to do all that champion stuff, so do we still need to have those champions involved all the time? Do we still need to have as many champions, or do we now have that direct line to a number of people that we can use, that we can do in Microsoft Teams? So that's a question to you.
Merete, go first.
Yeah, it's like, yes, what is Teams actually? So it's I see your question, see your point, and yes, it's easy to start using Teams, but are you using it right? And what about how are all these other tools connected? Because people can Google themselves how to create a channel or even to set up a planner or whatever they want to do, but how to build this into your business, how to make this a business tool, that is where your champions, I believe, will be the golden power.
Yeah, but they can be in a team, and maybe you only have like 5 champions for a company of 100,000 people, and you can just say, talk to the people in the team instead of talk to the person that is sitting 3 desks away from you.
Now that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Usually, especially when people are spread all over the world, they have the go-to guy you said before, who is just around the corner, because a computer and a human behind a computer just can't never replace another human. And human interaction will always be the first thing people are going to seek. And somebody they can call, and somebody who is in my time zone and who speaks my language and who knows the stuff that I'm doing every day. And you know how you are in a corporation and you are calling the IT service, and they say, so what are you trying to do? They don't understand what you are doing all day. This is not awesome at all. It is really devastating for you, because you were just trying to solve a problem. And when you do this in adoption, people are just going to table flip and say, hey, come on, let's just leave it out. And so you need the humans. No chance without humans.
So true. And if I may just jump in there, and actually we talk a lot about change, but it's actually evolution. It's evolving into something new. I mean, what happens now haven't probably happened since we got email, as my boss sometimes say, this is revolutionary, actually, what is happening these days. And perhaps maybe one of the most important things that our champions has to do, or is their job to do, is to create a culture. And tools don't create culture. People create culture. Culture sharing, how to give responsibility to their employees, because not micromanagement is so 1990. It just doesn't work anymore. You collaborate, you kill those silos, and you work together. You collaborate in new ways, and this is what champions have in their backbones, or should have. Yeah.
Or should have, if I may also give an answer actually to Maraine's question. What I experienced, especially in the last year, where nearly every company around myself was jumping onto the free licenses of Teams. So they introduced Teams just like that, and now they are stuck with that. And we are using it, but I used to get notifications from Outlook, and now I get notifications from Outlook and Teams, and that doesn't make things better. Actually, it makes things worse. And somebody mentioned it in the comments earlier. You need something around best practices, what works best for your company, for your organization. So the typical consultant answer depends. There is no right and wrong answer. I hate that fact, actually, especially when I'm asking questions.
I read 2 lines under. Yeah.
But actually, I do have a question, and another one actually to get a little bit more like in depth maybe. So I think Amanda came up with a question. Do you have any recommendations or activities or happenings that should be included in the Champions Network? It's like, that's a no-brainer. Do that. It works every time. What's a must-have? And what is like nice to have, but don't know. Do you have some like classics for champions, Maritha?
Well, yes. I mean, you create a network for your champions, even if you have 3. They have their space where they collaborate, and of course, Teams is very typical and a good place to start. Some companies create a Teams for the champion team that is open for everyone, and then there's a core group of champions who share and work and to collaborate and discuss different topics. And then whoever are extra interested, they can be part of that. And then by looking at what the champions are discussing, if eventually they dare to actually ask questions or come with suggestions themselves, and then they all of a sudden become a champion. Or other companies choose to keep it private, like a private Teams, that only if you are a direct contributor, that you actually deliver something, then you are allowed to be part of that group of champions. Not like a free rider. So there's a right and wrong on both of them. So it all depends again, But again, it's like I said, it's an ongoing journey. So for number one, that you actually create a journey for your champions. It's not enough that you just learn how to create the teams. It has to be part of a training journey. And of course, you could start with the Microsoft Adoption Specialist certification. That's a good place to start. But in any case, and also you have to perhaps give them a champion day that they can deep dive into special topics, and of course to let them participate in international conferences. It's easier now because it's all online, but when we are getting back on track in real life again, it could be a good idea to let them actually invest that time, because you get tenfold back.
Yes, please,
Yeah,
Christina.
That's so true. I just can't agree. And I want to add, if you put together that network at the beginning, don't think that everybody will start to talk right away. So you have to create really that network. You have to facilitate conversations at the beginning. You have to help people find their voice. It's so astonishing how people evolve during the process, that were said to be so shy and not speaking up, and then giving the greatest workshops for their colleagues just because they found their voice. And so this is something, you are a coach and a mentor as well in the process for the champions, and they always need to know that you have their back, so that you are there for them. So whenever a manager goes rampant and says, no, you're just going to do this work and not that work, that you have their back, and that you go there and calm things down and help finding a solution, and they do not have to cope with all that stuff all on their own. I feel that this is really crucial for them to feel safe, and if they feel safe in that role, they will really going to succeed.
Just keep on.
Yeah, and one more thing I think it's important is to actually recognize these champions. Businesses have like a champion of the month. Some companies do that, and based on, and not of their technical skills perhaps, but because they did something good for somebody else. that you supported somebody, you trained them, or whatever you did, that you kind of delivered on the culture of your company. That is really important.
And I want to add, don't just praise one, praise them all. Every
Yes.
once in a while, whenever it's deserved, just praise them.
Celebrate. Yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
I would also say, like, go get a beer together or go for lunch together if you're in the same area or something like that. So things, for me, that happen or the help is to give people a direct line to the people that are managing it. So if they get a question, if the champions get a question, they can't really answer it, that they just have a direct line on who they can ask. And just like Alex said, those bi-weekly meetings where you just give people information, where you show them new stuff that's gonna appear, that's just brilliant.
Speaking of which, like training the champions, like a bi-weekly call or something like that. What are your experiences in doing that? Like, I'm thinking about, do I, as a consultant, for example, go in a bi-weekly call and teach them everything what is new and show them new use cases, or do they have to adapt to some kind of like evergreen approach and like to learn themselves? Lots of possibilities, please.
I think you can do two things. So for big international projects, I've been giving the bi-weekly session. Like, okay, everybody comes at Tuesday, 2:00, goes into an online meeting, and I will present new stuff. What you could also do, because now we have Office 365, we used to have SharePoint, now we've got Office 365. Those consultants can't always know everything. So what you could also do is you can, for example, if you have somebody that's maybe very into Power Automate or Power Apps, that they would every once in a while deliver something that they found out or that they have seen or that they know that is coming. So that also gives that champion a spotlight on being in the company the one to go to for Power Apps, and that might give them an extra an extra track in their career maybe later on.
Yeah, and I agree very much with that, Marianne. And also another thing, if it depends, of course, on the size of the champion, the size of the company. But if it's a big company with quite a few champions, then you might have 3 or 5 that are interested in Power Automate. Let them make their own kind of collaborative group, and etc. Those are for adoption, and so that you can build on each other as well. But one thing is the technical part, I mean, of the tools and how to use them, how to connect them. But the champions would need a lot more in their bag. They would need to challenge the status quo. They would need to challenge managers. They would need to be able to set a strategy for how, okay, now these things are going to happen. These changes are coming from Microsoft. Okay, how do they affect us? How do they affect our solutions? Do we have to have a task force to kind of have a look now, because there's so much affecting our solutions and how we are working together? Oh my goodness, we have SharePoint 2013 and we need to migrate now, yesterday. How do we do that? They are the ones who to get advice from when you're going to do that, because it takes time to migrate, not least. So then you need to have a lot more skills than just the technical. You need to have the business acumen. You need to see where the processes are really going backwards and see, okay, if we use Teams and Power Automate, SharePoint and Forms, we can then create a much better process. We can automate these things, but then you need to understand the business. So you need some training on how to actually analyze the business situation and the processes, and then bring the tools together to fix that, basically.
And that is something that an outside consultant doesn't always have the ideas of. If I go into the financial department of a compressor technology organization, or my current customer, which is the Amsterdam Fashion Institute, that's totally different people.
Yeah, exactly. I always try to find a counterpart for my role. So when I come there, I really seek people who are interested and who are capable of going the way, not only meaning digital literacy, but also capacity. Will they be able to fulfill that role? And we were very happy with several customers to just implement a role that is Evergreen Manager, and that is not only the tech stuff, but also the non-tech stuff, like exactly what you two said. How does this apply to our business, and will we need this, and how will this affect the people? Do I have to talk to Department A or to Department B about this? And I really need their internal view, because I don't have that. Exactly what you just made so clear. And without that counterpart, it just wouldn't work. So of course, I'm trying to have less work here, because whenever people are enabled, they are just going to fly, and I can wave goodbye and say, that's great. And we do some more on the strategy part then. But it is really great if they can shape their future themselves.
Okay, just to get this right, what you are saying basically is that the champion in a company can be even bring more value than just for the adoption process, right?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Can
but
we
not
write this
every
down somewhere?
champion.
Well, of course, you can't force anybody to do that, actually, but there is a possibility to do that.
Yeah, you need to try to trigger people to also step up and present their own stuff. For one of my customers, I've got one younger person who's just new in the company, and she really wants to make her mark in the company. So she also wants to be included in all the technology changes. She's very eager to learn, and she's now also presenting a number of our champion sessions. So that's awesome. That's brilliant.
That's fantastic. That's why we do this, for those moments. Actually, see, because it's our job to give them the skills to move on their own, just like you said.
That's nice. I just want to come back to one thing Alex just said that kind of surprised me, actually. He was introducing us to the roles, different roles a champion can have, like the all-rounder, the coach, and stuff like that. And now, as I hear, then you have different people, for example, looking more into Power Apps or looking more into Excel or whatever. They could like make their own brand in the company in the process. Have you ever worked with like roles while setting up a champions community, or is it something that Alex just made up?
That is true. It's wise to do that. It's wise to do it because there are different roles, yes, and they should have different skills. And as you said, one person can't be everything. You can't be the technical architect. It's like having a restaurant and serving 100 people, and you do both being chef and being in the kitchen and serving. You can't do all of it. So you need to have certain roles that you delegate certain responsibility, and then they can focus on their own niche, basically.
Yeah, and they have different skills, and it's just using their different skills. They're all unique and can contribute in their unique ways, and so just let them do what they can do best.
And then they build on each other's strength. Yeah. Sorry.
And that's also how you keep them interested as well, because if they now have to do things that they don't like, if they have to solve technical issues, or they now need to present something and they don't like that, you lose them.
But do you have something like a metric or a cluster in mind when you start a champions group? See, okay, I need one of these people, and a little bit of this, or is it just what naturally happens?
Well, there are some material on tech community or tech Microsoft pages. Sorry, there are some, of course, a lot of roles, but you can't have all of them. Perhaps what is a good idea is to sit down with your customer and write up a Rocky, responsibility matrix, and at least go through the most important activities. Like we have adoption, we have training, we have the architecture, we have security and monitoring. Just write up like the 10 most important areas, and then look at which roles do you have in IT, which roles do you have in the HR and communication. Which roles do we have in the champions? Who is responsible? Who is accountable? Who is the performing? Who do you need to consult? Who do you need to inform? Just by doing that exercise, you actually get a good picture. And many times I've experienced that the customer get a aha experience with that. They discover we don't have that role. For instance, information management. Who is responsible for retention policy?
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Okay, before I would like to sum things up a little bit, because we just have 5 minutes left. We do have this one question which I really like, actually. Do you guys have any other like fun names for the champions group, or did you experience some other names?
The Jedis, the rock stars,
yeah. Ninjas.
Ninjas, okay.
But the problem with ninjas is the ninja needs to be invisible.
But yes, you can just change the definition of that word. It's evolving.
Yeah.
It used to be hidden. Now it's all visible because you're killing the silos, right?
Ah, interesting. So you introduce to put it in your story, so to say. Yeah? Well, I had daily long discussions with customers, actually, how the name should be, and would be something like wouldn't be too aggressive or something like that. Or maybe you guys heard from the chat the Teams police. I think is kind of like restrictive or something. I'm not sure.
What you can do is what I saw.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Christina, first, please.
I'm sorry. It just has to fit the culture. So it has to fit the culture. So if they don't use English words, so please don't force them to use an English word. And if they say hero is just too much because it's so demanding for me, then give them something more moderate. So just go with the flow with them.
Yeah. And it was actually the same thing, more or less. It's just find something that they're actually a word or a role type or definition that they're used to in their work. I mean, of course, if I'm working on a school where we are educating athletes, then of course I could use coach because that is, of course, easy. But if I'm creating roads, I could have a word that relates to building roads, who are the one who run the train or something. So it's something that is related to what they're working on. So they can themselves let them have a workshop, let them have a name competition, which is one way to actually get them engaged in using Teams, for instance, or polls or forms or whatever. So it's use the tools and get people engaged, because they sometimes, most of the time, they have the best ideas themselves.
That's great. Okay, I would like to sum up the most important parts that at least I have heard. So maybe you can add up on that. I think around 6 points or something like that. I would say engage management is something that came up pretty early. Create a network. That I really heard that a lot. Like make them people bond and make them feel acknowledged and happy. Something like champion of the month, but praise them all eventually, one of the time. And it's an ongoing process. Like create a whole journey. That's important. And I think you need to invest before you can gain anything. So, and it is an investment, but you gain a lot for not only your adoption process, but for the whole company. And what else do we have? Celebrate. Go for a beer or for lunch, connect, but make this a fun thing. What did I forget?
Send cookies.
Pardon?
Send cookies. Give everyone cookies.
And it is cool. It's cool to be a champion.
Cookies? It's cool to be a champion. So yeah, did I miss something obvious apart from the cookies? I think that's it, right? That's it, like the basic package, how to champion. So at this point, I would say thanks a lot for your time and for your invest. I think we gained a lot actually today. So I'm giving back to you, Amanda.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you one more time to our fantastic panelist guest stars. Here you have their details for all the ones of you who joined us if you want to see and hear more. So thank you. This was a really, really interesting panel, and I loved all the different topics. But yeah, so basically that's it. Don't forget to give us feedback on topics that you might want to hear, about speakers that you might want to hear and stuff like that. We really appreciate all the different kinds of feedback. And now for our next meet. So in a month, the 16th of March, the same time, we will have this super exciting topic on marketing and advertising AMC internally. So see you in a month, and stay posted on our social medias, and have a nice Tuesday.
Goodbye.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, bye.